Good evening and welcome to Prime News. I'm Chathanudwala here with the headlines.
The death toll due to adverse weather rises to 22. More than 7,000 are displaced. Heavy rain continues. Granting of relief to the affected families is expedited on the instructions of the President. Heavy rains are being experienced in the hill country. Muskeli Oya is also overflowing. It has been decided to adhere to the academic award of 120 credits for the Allied Health Service degree program. President orders the release of Indian fishermen who violated the territorial water limits. The Consultative Assembly of Saudi Arabia approves the draft agreement for Sri Lankan housemaids. And in news overseas, Syrians vote in the presidential election.
In local news, the number displaced as a result of flooding due to extreme weather conditions has exceeded 7,000. The death toll has risen to 22. The granting of immediate relief on the orders of the President is being carried out continuously. Heavy rain has been forecast in many parts of the island today, while the Department of Meteorology has issued warnings.
Heavy rain is being experienced in a number of districts as a result of the atmospheric disturbances in the vicinity of Sri Lanka. The most affected districts are Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara, Galle, Ratnapura and Mathura. Water levels of several main rivers have risen and are now overflowing. Several areas in the Galle district are flooded due to the overflow of the Ginganga as a result of the heavy downpour experienced in the last few days. Areas such as Mapalagama, Kurupanava and Unangvitia have gone underwater, while there are obstructions to transport on several roads. The Udugama Baddegama, Mapalagama Pitigala, Mapalagama Alpitia and Udugama Kalampa roads are flooded. Several schools in the vicinity of the Nagura Divisional Secretariat Division were closed today due to floods. The Valipenna entrance of the Southern Expressway is completely underwater due to incessant rain. Entrance to and exit from the Valipenna interchange has been suspended as all surrounding roads within this interchange have gone underwater. However, the Expressway Information Centre said that there are no obstructions to travelling on the expressway. Relief is being continuously granted to the people of the Kalutara district, which is the worst affected as a result of extreme weather conditions. Landslide warnings were issued yesterday to Palindanura, Agalavatta, Pulatsinhala, Mathugama and Kalutara Divisional Secretariat divisions within the Kalutara district. Food is being provided to the displaced families in the Kalutara district, while special teams have been deployed to look into the needs of these families. Ministers Mahinda Samarasinghe and Kumara Velgama toured the flood-affected areas and inquired into the needs of the affected families. In the meantime, several areas along the Colombo-Avissavella road have gone underwater due to the heavy downpour. Our reporters said that certain areas along the road within the Puakpitia Kirindivella area are around 4 feet underwater. Many roads and houses within the Padukka area are also flooded. Transport has come to a standstill as the Ingiriya-Colombo Highway and the Horana-Mipe Road are submerged. Padukka Divisional Secretariat H.S. Hevake said that arrangements had been made to provide cooked meals to the affected families. The government has expressed its concern to the people who are impacted by the inclement weather, floods and landslides, and also to family members who had lost their dear ones. The Disaster Management Centre has made arrangements to provide immediate relief to families affected by the present situation. Meanwhile, members of the security forces have joined in relief operations with much dedication to rescue the affected persons. The Air Force, utilising 3 helicopters, are making their maximum contribution to providing food and other requirements to the families affected by natural calamities.
Heavy rains are being experienced in catchment areas in the Central Hills. 30 houses have gone underwater following the overflow of Muskeli Oya. Sluice gates have been opened following the rapid increase in the water level of several reservoirs.
Heavy rains are being experienced in the western slopes of the Central Hills from last night. As such, our correspondents reported that the water level of the reservoirs affiliated to the power plants are increasing rapidly. 20 houses of the Sami Male Gavravila village in Maskelia have gone underwater due to the overflow of Maskeli Oya, which feeds the Mausakale reservoir following heavy rains. Our correspondent reported that 10 houses in the Mahanelua estate are completely submerged. The program for the granting of relief to the displaced is being launched continuously. The members of the Lakshapana Army Camp are contributing towards this program. Displaced families have been found alternate shelter in estate covils. The Ambagamua Pradesh Sabha is mediating in the supply of cooked food to those displaced families. Norelia District Secretary DPG Kumarasiri has informed people living in low-lying areas adjacent to the Maskeli Oya to be cautious as continuous rain is being experienced in the hill country. The water levels of Mausakale, Castlereagh, Vimala Surendra and Lakshapana power plant reservoirs have risen due to incessant rains experienced in the hill country areas. 6 sluice gates of the Lakshapana hydropower reservoir have been opened. Meanwhile, all roads in the Central Hills are covered with thick fog due to extreme weather conditions. This is mainly attributed to the heavy rain being experienced in the western slopes of the Central Hills. This has resulted in obstructions to travelling. The police have called upon drivers to be cautious when driving vehicles. Thick fog is being experienced along the Hatton-Colombo Road from Guinea-Gathena to Hatton and along the Hatton-Warelia Road. The police have called upon the drivers to switch on their fog lights as vehicles approaching from the front are not sometimes visible.
It has been decided to adhere to the academic award of 120 credits for the Allied Health Service degree program, taking into consideration its fulfillment of international education standards, criteria and scientific basis. This decision was reached during a special meeting held under the patronage of the President at Templetrees today.
Among those who joined in the discussion were representatives of the Government Medical Association, the University Grants Commission, the Higher Education Ministry, the Health Ministry, Vice-Chancellors of the Peradeniya and Ruhuna Universities and Allied Health Deans of the Peradeniya University. Representatives including the Dean of the Peradeniya Allied Health Faculty, Dr. Mahinda Vikramaratne, granted their consent to this decision. The future initiatives will be implemented on the instructions of the judiciary after intimating the matters discussed with the President to the judiciary, as there is a court order on the allied health degree. Discussions on the issues which had surfaced in this respect took place at length during this meeting. The President instructed the Higher Education Minister to apprise the allied health students of these matters. Ministers Maithripala Sirisena and SP Dissanayake, Deputy Ministers Nandimitra Ekanayake and Lalit Dissanayake, President Secretary Lalit Virathunga, Ministry Secretaries as well as many senior officials joined in this discussion. President of the Government Medical Officers Association, Dr. Anuruddha Padaniya, Dean of the Peradeniya Allied Health Faculty, Dr. Mahinda Vikramaratne, and several other representatives were also present at this meeting.
In continuing in local news, the 2-week National Scout Services and Public Coordination Program has been launched with the patronage of President Rajapaksa.
Plans are afoot to hold the 2-week Scout Services and Public Coordination Program countrywide from the 6th to the 22nd of this month. The Scouts will be divided into groups and will engage in these services throughout the country during this period. Around 40,000 Scouts will join in this program. The program, organised by the Sri Lanka Scouts Association, was launched this morning under the patronage of President Rajapaksa at the President's house. The aim of this program is to train the Scouts to work with team spirit and maintain interrelations with the community. The People's Bank has sponsored the official cards of the 2-week Scout Services and Coordination Program. Chief Scouts Commissioner Professor Nimal De Silva handed over the first official card to the President. Representatives of the People's Bank handed over sponsor funds to the President, while the President in return presented them to the Scouts Association. A special evaluation certificate was handed over to the President by the World Scouts Federation on behalf of the outstanding services discharged by President Rajapaksa to the World Scouts movement and for the development of the youth in Sri Lanka. Executive Committee member of the Asia Pacific region of the Association and International Commissioner Attorney General Fernando handed it over to the President. The Scouts magazine was presented to the President by Commissioners of the Headquarters, Vatsala Vijayavikrama and Kapila Kumara. Scouts of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, who earned the highest income from this program last year, were present on the occasion.
The President has ordered the release of a group of Indian fishermen recently taken into custody for straying into Sri Lankan territorial waters. The Sri Lankan Navy recently apprehended 29 Indian fishermen who illegally entered the Sri Lankan waters. The Presidential Media Division said that President Rajapaksa issued instructions to the authorities concerned to release this group of fishermen. The President also took a decision earlier to release all Indian fishermen who were in Sri Lankan custody in view of the inauguration of the new Indian Prime Minister. Its aim is to improve the existing relations between Sri Lanka and India. The Shura Council, the Consultative Assembly of Saudi Arabia, has approved a draft agreement between the Saudi Ministry of Labour and the Ministry of Foreign Employment in Sri Lanka regarding the employment of household workers.
The agreement aims to protect the rights of domestic workers and employers by organizing the contractual relationship between them and emphasizes the development of a standard employment contract for household workers that is acceptable to authorities in both countries and binding on the contracted parties, the Saudi Recruitment Office and the Sri Lankan Recruitment Agency. According to the articles of the agreement, all household workers would need to be employed through offices, companies or recruitment agencies to regulate and control the costs of recruitment in both countries. Additionally, no fees can be deducted from the salary of a domestic worker for the costs of recruitment and employment, and such agencies should ensure that the contracted parties can resort to authorities in the case of any contractual dispute. The agreement indicates that the Kingdom would be obligated to protect the rights of workers in accordance with the regulations, facilitate the opening of a bank account and provide workers with assistance related to contract issues and the issuance of exit visas for domestic workers at the end of the contract or in case of emergency. Sri Lanka will be responsible for verifying the qualifications of employees and ensuring that the employees are medically fit, do not have a criminal history, and will observe the regulations and customs in the Kingdom during their stay.
The housing scheme launched for families evicted during the construction of the approach road to the Suryavava Mahinda Rajapaksa Cricket Stadium has been opened. Parliamentarian Nama Rajapaksa handed over houses located in the Valivava area in Suryavava to these families. 8 million rupees was expended on each house built with personal donations. The scheme has 14 houses. Parliamentarian Tharanath Basnaika was present on this occasion. The recipients of these houses expressed their appreciation to the government for granting these valuable houses to them, meting out justice even though they had to sacrifice the houses for a development scheme launched by the government. Sri Lanka and Algeria have inked a systematic political consultative agreement. The agreement has been signed at the 17th ministerial level meeting of the non-aligned movement held in Algiers recently. External Affairs Minister Professor G.L. Pires and his Algerian counterpart Ramtan Lamamira inked the agreement. The ministerial level meeting is chaired by Algeria. Sri Lanka chairs the Commonwealth and the Group of 15. The conference of the Group of 15 is slated to be held in Sri Lanka in November this year. The Sri Lankan minister expressed his gratitude to Algeria for the awareness it had in relation to Sri Lanka on the Geneva issue and the support extended to the island nation. The minister also applauded the support received from Algeria for the crackdown on terrorist activities. After the inking of the agreement, the two external affairs ministers held a media conference. The Japanese government is assisting Sri Lanka's Human Resources Development Scholarship Program. The Human Resources Development Scholarship, initiated by Japan in 2010, aims to train young Sri Lankan officials to become future national leaders of Sri Lanka, highly capable of contributing effectively in the formulation and implementation of national development plans. Under the scholarship program during 2014 to 2017, a total of 60 young public sector officials in 4 batches will have the opportunity to pursue a 2-year master's degree at prominent universities in Japan. Japan is providing 245 million rupees for this year's program. The agreement was inked by Finance Secretary Dr. P.B. Jayasundara and Ambassador of Japan in Colombo, Nobuhito Hobo. The LTTE terrorists perpetrated many heinous crimes in the country and caused carnage and destruction to public property for 30 years. No one can estimate the damage they unleashed during this period. The country would have still been plagued by terrorism if the LTTE, which was a mortal threat, had not been totally uprooted by the heroic soldiers.
The Tiger terrorists who unleashed an attack on a group of war heroes in Jaffna on 3rd June 1987 grabbed the lives of 4 soldiers. On 3rd June 1991, the terrorists took away the lives of another 2 war heroes, mooting an attack in the Unniche area. Again on 2nd June 1992, an attack was launched by the Tiger terrorists, targeting the heroic soldiers in the Mullaithivu area. As a result, 2 war heroes lost their lives. Ilawale was the next target of the terrorists. They exploded a claymore mine on 3rd June 1997, killing 2 innocent civilians. 4 war heroes also died in this explosion. The ruthless Tiger terrorists had also opened fire and killed 2 civilians in the Ottamavadi area on 3rd June 2001. Again on 3rd June 2006, the terrorists who grabbed the lives of another 2 civilians in the Kalwankerni area exploded a claymore mine in the Kilali area on 3rd June 2007, taking away the valuable lives of 2 war heroes. Another attack was launched by the terrorists on the soldiers in the Nagarkovil area on 3rd June 2008. As a result, 2 war heroes made supreme sacrifices. Terrorism, which was a bane for the country, was uprooted by the gallant soldiers from the Nandikada lagoon on 18 May 2009. By then, these merciless terrorists had taken away a total of 39 lives. Among them were 9 innocent civilians, while the other 30 were valiant soldiers. Following the fearless and unwavering decisions taken by President Rajapaksa as the Commander-in-Chief and under the guidance of Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the heroic soldiers succeeded in advancing in the humanitarian operations. Overcoming all the impediments, the brave soldiers achieved their victorious goal at the Nandikada lagoon due to their immense dedications. Certain hostile forces are determined to destroy this peaceful environment, but the patriotic fraternity of the motherland will never permit such forces to raise their heads again. The nation has proven this with clear evidence, emphasizing that they remained with courage and strength with the Commander-in-Chief and the government. These dark memories are being refreshed in these episodes that the nation may act responsibly in a manner that ensures such destruction would not recur. Action has been taken to display the photographs of the war heroes who made supreme sacrifices in the battle to rout terrorism and discharge a noble service as an honor to the sacrifices they have made.
Diversity visits the San Diego Zoo.
The San Diego Zoo is a zoo in Balboa Park, San Diego, California, housing over 3,700 animals of more than 650 species and subspecies. Its parent organization, San Diego Zoo Global, is the largest zoological membership association in the world, with more than 250,000 member households and 130,000 child memberships, representing more than 500,000 people. San Diego Zoo pioneered the concept of open-air, cageless exhibits that recreate natural animal habitats. It is one of the few zoos in the world that houses the giant panda, Most recently, the San Diego Zoo has added a new California adventure, providing an Australian experience.
Prime World follows.
A very good evening to everyone joining us. I'm Dulanjali Mahindukula Surya, and here's a look at world views and world news with Prime World.
Voting is underway in Syria's presidential election amid heightened security. The poll takes place 3 years into a civil war in which tens of thousands of people have died and millions more are displaced. President Bashar al-Assad is widely expected to win a third 7-year term in office. Analysts say Syrian officials have gone to great lengths to present the vote as a way to resolve the crisis. It is the first time in decades that more than one name has appeared on the ballot paper. Other two candidates, Maher Hajar and Hassan al-Nouri, are not widely known and have been unable to campaign on an equal footing with the president. The humanitarian situation in Ukraine needs to be addressed immediately without the usual theoretical exercises from the UN Security Council's usual suspects, Ambassador Vitaly Shurkin said after a closed-door meeting on a Russian draft resolution. Shurkin said a swift reaction is absolutely necessary as Kiev continues its full-scale military operation in southeastern Ukraine with heavy and indiscriminate shelling of residential areas, using both artillery and aviation. Just today alone, at least 5 civilians were killed in a Ukrainian air raid on a local administrative building in Lugansk, the aftermath of which is shown in numerous horrific videos posted online. Afghanistan's government has criticized a US deal to free 5 senior Taliban militants in exchange for a US Army sergeant, Bo Bergadal. The 5 prisoners have been moved from Guantanamo Bay prison to Qatar. They have been classed as high risk by the Pentagon and held high-ranking positions in the Taliban regime before it was toppled by a US-led coalition in 2001. Afghan Foreign Ministry spokesman Ahmad Shakib said that if the US had moved the 5 men without a previous agreement with Qatar, this act will be considered to be violating all international norms. Afghan government sources say President Karzai is angry that he was kept in the dark about the deal. Indian police used water cannon to disperse protesters rallying outside the office of Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav in the state capital Lucknow. The demonstrators, mainly women, were protesting against rising violence in the state. 2 teenage girls were raped and hanged there last week. Yadav is from the regional Samajwadi Party that suffered heavy losses to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party in the recent general election. Yadav has been under fire, with critics holding him responsible for lawlessness in his state and the failure of police to investigate sex crimes. A heavy dust storm rode into Iran's capital, blacking out all the sun in a swirling cloud and tearing down trees in the squall that has reportedly killed at least 4 people and injured 30. The storm struck Tehran with winds of up to 110 kilometers per hour. The storm killed 5 people. The discrepancy could not immediately be reconciled. The storm reportedly caused temporary power outages in some districts of Tehran and broke trees. It also apparently caused a chain reaction crash on a highway south of the capital with 20 vehicles and caused international flights to be cancelled. Authorities asked children and the elderly to remain indoors.
오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일 낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자 밤이 오면 심장이 뜨거워지는 여자 그런 반전 있는 여자 너는 선호해 낮에는 너만큼
It's 2 billion and counting for PSY and his irrepressible Gangnam Style. The South Korean pop star's surprise hit has become the first YouTube video to surpass 2 billion views, crossing the mark around shortly before midnight Eastern Time on 31st of May.
오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일 오빤 강남스타일
The unlikely viral star holds the record for most overall views and most views in a day, with 38 million for his Gangnam Style follow-up, Gentleman. No other video comes close to Gangnam on the streaming services list of top videos. PSY has 3 of the top 15 videos on the site.
오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일 오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일 오빤 강남스타일
With that, we wrap up this edition of Prime World. Thank you for joining us. It's back to the main desk.
And finally for Prime Sports.
Sri Lanka have named left-arm seamer Chanaka Vellagadara in their test squad to play England in a 2-match series which begins at Lord's on the 12th of this month. Vellagadara, who took 7 wickets on Sri Lanka's last tour of England, replaces the injured Suranga Lakmal. There are few surprises in the 15-man squad, which will be skippered by Angelo Matthews. Wicket-keeper Prasanna Jayawardene is included, with Kumar Sangakkara likely to concentrate on his batting. The second test will be played at Headingley on the 20th of this month. Rafael Nadal won a record 32nd straight match at the French Open, beating Dusan Lajovic of Serbia 6-1, 6-2, 6-1. Playing on court Philippe Chatrier, Nadal's favourite court in the world, the top-seeded Spaniard controlled the match from the start. He then won 17 straight points to open the second set, taking a 4-0 lead before finally sending a backhand wide to make it 15-all in the 5th game. Spaniard David Ferrer set up a likely quarter-final against Nadal, who beat him in the last day's final with a 6-3, 6-3, 6-7, 6-1 victory over Kevin Anderson. Ferrer fought straight back in the 4th, unleashing a string of forehand winners to break Anderson in the 2nd and 4th games to win the match.
That ends tonight's edition of Prime News. Visit itnnews.lk for updates.